Cieszyn in Poland. Now, as you can see, I've got my van parked here at this parking space, which is an absolutely brilliant place to stay because it's got the fastest internet I've ever used on a car park in my life. During the day there's cars coming and going, there's buses coming and going, but at night it's really quiet. It's located next to the campsite, and the reason I didn't stay there was because the lady in charge was away, and so she's off sick, so I can't stay there. But it's a very good location because we've got this wonderful cycle path which is alongside the Olza river, which we will see in a few moments. It's a couple of kilometers from the center, so it's great. It's a superb location. Now, Cieszyn is based on the Olza river. It's a city which is divided in two. This happened as a result of the First World War, when Czechoslovakia became independent and Poland became independent. Previously it had all been part of Austria, and the border was placed on the Olza river, possibly a bit unfairly because the population on the other side of the Olza river was Polish speaking for a distance of 20 kilometers or so. That is population in the countryside, because here in Cieszyn the overwhelming majority of the population was German speaking. Around 2/3 of the population was German speaking, the third was Polish, and there was a few people also spoke Czech or some other language, but not many. So, border was put here. This was a decision made after a short war where Czechoslovakia invaded Poland in January 1919. This came as a result of the Polish government attempting to organize elections in disputed territory. Then, after a rather mangled process, I can't think of a better way of putting it, an agreement was reached to place the border where it is today. The war itself lasted around 3 weeks. The Czechoslovaks advanced to Skoczów, which is what, 20 kilometers or so from here, and a peace agreement was arrived at. Now, there was no referendum within, or plebiscite I should say, within the lands on the other side of the Olza river. This was originally what was agreed to, but the largely French and to a certain extent also British ambassadors agreed to give it to the Czechs. Now, I'll write a bit more on this subject because I'm trying to do more of a tourist video for people who travel by motorhome, but there's a little bit of the history behind it. But since I'm on this subject, I'm going to take it a little bit further, because in September, October 1938 we had the Munich agreements, whereby the United Kingdom and France very generously gave a large part of Czechoslovakia, admittedly inhabited largely by Germans, to Nazi Germany. And making the most of this, Poland and Hungary both attacked Czechoslovakia. In the case of Poland, the Polish government demanded that the Czechs hand over this land on the other side of the Olza river, some 610 or thereabouts square kilometers, with a population of 220,000 people, largely Polish speaking. The Czechoslovaks had no choice, but later the effect of this was to sour relations with the British and the French. Even General Gamlin reminded a Polish general about this, and it's quite disgraceful what the Poles did. I accept the fact that the population was Polish speaking, but given the danger from Nazi Germany, a far more sensible course would have been to have shown support for the Czechoslovakian government. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, between the wars, most states were at each other's throats. between Poland and Lithuania, there were not diplomatic relations for nearly 20 years, and even it only started because of a result of Polish threats. And this is something which we see throughout the region. Hungarians weren't very pleased about losing so much land at the end of World War I, so they had bad relations with above all Romania, Czechoslovakia. Anyway, today things are much different, and thanks to the European Union we've got this wonderful bridge across the Olza River, and I'm now walking into the Czech Republic. And as you can see, something which 30 years ago that I couldn't have done without having to spend hours in embassies, no end of expense, and then long queues. And today I can just walk into the Czech Republic as though I was crossing a bridge anywhere. This bridge is comparatively new. There's a view, so I'm standing somewhere on the border now. And as you get over the other side, you can see the signs. And to my left, there's this park, which is named after Mr. Sikora, Adam Sikora, I think it was. Ooh, he was a Pole, if you like. He was a Polish-speaking person. And so now we are, now in Český Těšín, Český Těšín. Now there is a Polish-speaking minority here now, but the thing is, the languages are, I mean, there's no problem, because everybody I speak to them directly in Polish. I don't even bother asking if they know the language or not, and they understand me. So you see people relaxing in the border area. 30 years ago, couldn't have done that. You'd be running the risk of getting shot at. Both sides of the border were patrolled. This is an inner border within the communist bloc, so therefore you didn't see the barbed wire fences that you would have done on the border, for example, between Western Europe and the Soviet zone, although the border between the Soviet Union and its friendly satellite states was also guarded watchtowers, barbed wire and minefields in some places. To my left, sports club. On the other side of the river, there's also a sports club. I've looked at the history of Cieszyn, and in some detail, as may be obvious from how I started this. I also looked at the local history, where the bridges were and things like that, the sort of thing. It often interests me. Now, you can see in other films I did in the past, when I've actually, for example in 2007, and I crossed the border bridge between Czech Republic and Poland in my car, and today that is not, I'm sure it's still there, but the border bridge, or the border motorway, because it's a motorway now, it's not the road it used to be, is much different. It's really very good quality. Now, 2 weeks ago, I hurt my arm. I don't exactly know what I did, but I was out with the dog. And the dog was straining at the leash, and I think I pulled a muscle or something. But it's quite painful for me to actually walk. So this is the first time I've filmed for ages, and it seems though having my arm in this filming position doesn't hurt me so much. One thing I find really odd though, it's great, just you saw the way I just crossed the river, and you've got a different language, a different currency, and this is, in my opinion, the way Europe should be. And today, it's the 23rd of June, Thursday. Today in the United Kingdom there's going to be a referendum. Obviously, I don't know what the result is. It's too tight to make guesses. If Britain leaves the European Union, in my opinion, that will be a terrible mistake. Of course, you'll be seeing this many months later, because the backlog of things which I have to post is now over 1 year old, so it'll be a long time before this actually gets published. There are 2 road bridges in the town, as well as the main road bridge, which is just outside the town. And in the socialist days, one was for direction in one way, and the other was for cars travelling in the other direction. You can see now this is 2-way, but I think this was the bridge where you left Czechoslovakia and went into Poland, and the other bridge is for travelling in the opposite direction. They have Poland. You see the signs that are up in Czech, trying to get Czech clients. There's some things that are a bit cheaper, such as food. And let's have a walk now down this street here. I want to see the railway station. The railway station isn't particularly interesting, but it was the railway line which was of such great interest for the Czechoslovakian state in 1918 to actually be in Czechoslovakia, because there was only 2 lines from what is today the Czech lands going into what is today Slovakia, and this was one of them. So they wanted to keep both lines within the state. Now, this area was highly industrialised at the end of the First World War. Mines, steel production, and obviously both sides wanted to get that within their territory, which was another cause of dispute. That mural, I suspect, is from socialist times. It's got that type of look about it. For example, we have a sign for a place called Cieszyn, and that is the location of a foundry, which you can see at night. At least you can see the smoke from it quite clearly at night. So in old photographs, this street looks very similar to the way it does today. Probably sounds as though the wind is quite strong. The wind is actually very pleasant in this heat. So Polish and Czech is quite similar. There's a political poster, but then again politicians always say the same thing. But your senator, Pet Gavlas, for you and for our region, for a safe Cieszyn. See how easy it is.
Natočte nás pořád. Ale... Co?
As far as I can see, it's the Czechs who go over the other side to buy food, and Czech Republic and Slovakia, for that matter, is noted for its alcohol, so people buy alcohol here. So that's why at the border you see alcohol shops. Excise duties may be different. I'm not certain what the reason for that is. And not the fuel though, is cheaper, or diesel is cheaper in Poland than it is here. In fact, it's cheaper in Austria than it is here. Now on the right hand side you have a building which used to be a print shop. A printer, I believe it was one of the largest printers in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And it's still a printers today, you can see from the name plate. And here now we're coming up to the border. And to my left there are, behind these houses, there's a very nice park. It's been done up very well, and as has the route alongside the Olza river, which we saw a little bit of as I was walking up earlier. You can imagine in socialist times here, big queues of people travelling between the two countries. All the paperwork had to be gone through, and now see it's completely open. You have the building there, which must have been the former control point at the border, and it's now tourist information, so I think I'll just drop in there. So this information point is very new. It was opened in June 2016. The lady was telling me, extremely helpful. Much better than on the Polish side, where they weren't helpful at all. And so, in socialist days, you could only get across if you had a special permit. So it wasn't open without the special permit, and it was difficult to get the special permit. The person I've just been talking to told me that once she came here in 20 plus years. So there we have the border, and on this bridge it's pretty clear where it was. Of course, suddenly after the revolution of November 1989, things changed, and there was a mass of people trying to get across the border. People going to Czechoslovakia to buy alcohol, and Czechs buying stuff here. There we have the other former control point, which is now a bar. And on the left is the castle.